The Native contemporary art community is pretty small, so that when you hear of a large commission, especially from a prestigious place like NMAI, news travels very fast. So I was given information, somebody called me saying that there was this call for entry for the NMAI Smithsonian Outdoor Sculpture Competition. I took a look at it and I thought that was pretty interesting in that they were looking for an outdoor sculpture, which is something that I'm getting better at doing and of course have great interest in. I questioned whether or not the idea that was starting to percolate inside of me would really be doable because it was actually so conceptual. I didn't know if I would be able to put this idea forth and have it be accepted. For a long time, I had been thinking about the idea of having an ephemeral piece. Because usually, especially in this town of Washington, D.C., most, if not all, the monuments and sculptures are made out of durable, really durable material, metal, concrete, stone, so that wouldn't it be interesting, I thought, if there was a contrast in that. And not only that, having something ephemeral would really speak to a lot of issues about contemporary Native life and our adaptability to change in a political, social, and environmental landscape that Native people have always had to readjust and rethink on all throughout history and our contact with the Europeans. And so the idea of creating an ephemeral piece made out of organic materials from this area seemed to really start becoming a strong sensation somewhere in this process. One of the judges in the jurying process asked me how this would fare among the other monumental sculptures. And I think the fact that a Native person is taking a look at the environment and working with the environment, having the environment in some ways dictate the kind of material, the kind of design, is really quite different than having a more stagnant art piece erected. And so the materials play a major role in always becoming: earth, straw, sand, rocks, and wood. And these resources figure prominently and are literally the foundation of the art project. And basically what I've done in designing Always Becoming is draw inspiration from tribal people who have resourced natural materials from their environment to build their homes. Beauty extends from the rear corner of my hogan. It extends from the woman. Beauty extends from the center of my room. It extends from the woman.
A Kickapoo
Beauty
tribal member
extends
once
from the
said,
fireside of my hogan.
"By
It
our
extends
houses
from
you
the
will
woman.
know us."
Beauty extends from the
In
side
response
corners
to
of my
Taos
hogan.
Pueblo
It extends
architecture,
from the woman.
a member remarked,
Beauty extends
"We
from
are
the
in one nest."
Materials. Okay, clay. We'll start with the most basic, coming out of the earth. I love that we're using all the material that is coming off the site, the dirt that got dug around from the tree roots, from the other side. We're sifting, we're using it for the blocks, we're using it for making the cob that forms the walls. We're using the gravel that we screen. Byproduct from screening it is going into the foundations, into some of the center cores. And I love that we're not throwing away materials, that we're trying to take everything that is often looked as a waste material, trying to use. So clay is the most basic. And with that, we're able to do infinite variations on the mix between cob being the most dense by adding a little bit of sand, equal parts. So 1 clay, 1 sand, probably close to even 1 part water to enough long straw. The sand and the clay are getting dry mixed on a tarp, and getting mixed, and then we're adding the water, and then we add the straw. That's a highly sculptable material that we can form the walls. Then making it a little soupier, adding chopped straw. We can make the blocks, which are great because we can make them ahead of time, put them out to dry in the sun so that by the time we're stacking them in the walls, where we don't need so much sculptability, we can use the blocks and get up higher in the sculptures. Then there's always the stone, and I really love the stone that we use, that is the local stone. It was that gray, beautiful stone. I think that's at the foundations. And then some of that very choco looking like flagstone. No. It reminds me back home of the Pueblos, right?
Teepee poles connect sky and earth, weaving prayers and people to other worlds and spirits.
Benito Steen.
Panther.
My name is Bill Steen. I'm from Canelo, Arizona.
Morales.
Juanita Morales.
Emiliano Lopez, Ciudad Obregón, Sonora, Mexico.
Lopez Morales.
My name is Nora Naranjo-Morse, and I'm from Santa Clara Pueblo. Family.
Family, yeah.
It's a family now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel it. I guess for me, it is. It's simple. It's those moments again where I stop every now and then. My eyes scan across from one island to the other, and I watch, our longtime friends, Juanita and Emiliano, and they're busy. I'll watch looking at the kids playing, building sand castles in the sand pile like kids do. I watch you over there talking with your red scarf on, telling people what they might want to hear or don't want to hear. I see Dax up there with his camera and Benito teasing him. And I'm walking from one island to another, and it stops. I go, I don't know why. Again, that feeling and seeing them happening in a way that I trust, in a way that I enjoy, and in a way that I'm so glad all of us are understanding, right? And I go, oh, that's it. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And then you go on, and you can keep working. I don't know. Somehow, I don't know why that makes me so happy, but that's it.
Me too.
When I just scan and I look at all of us, I go, oh.
Okay, everything's okay because
Everything's fine, because look at us. Everyone's so beautiful.
Uh-huh.
That's why. Everyone's doing what they should be doing. And from at the simplest level. Nothing complicated. No one's doing miracles, but all together, it is a miracle, right? So.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was very apparent that early on in the planning stages of Always Becoming, there was a demand from this concept that there be a sense of inclusiveness. Inclusiveness in terms of people, meaning it was not just a Pueblo idea, it was an intertribal idea It was a people idea. And without the help, obviously, of all of these people that became the always becoming community, there was not going to be a peace.
My name is Grace Randolph. I am a Kinawampanoag from Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, and I work with visitor services at the National Museum of the American Indian. Like every day I walk to work this way, every day I'm gonna walk to work and I'm gonna think of the project. So it's just a neat connection I have to like the physical landscape that I didn't have before. Even when I'm not working here, you know, it's always, for at least the next 10 years, it's gonna be there. And even when it's gone, I'll still think about it. So.
My name is John Watson from Lee Summit, Missouri. Been here twice or three times now already to watch you work.
Really?
Yes.
And have you seen a lot of progress?
Oh, much progress, yes. From Friday until today.
It's always changing.
It's always changing. And that is the family, is that right?
That's correct.
And this has got to be a woman.
Yeah. How did you?
Well, my wife, my better half said it was a womanly shape.
Uh-huh.
And I had to agree.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the lodge is.
Well, it's a combination of feminine and masculine, because in the interior is a mud form that is very feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the outer portion, the teepee shape is more masculine.
The pieces themselves, just the artwork, they're so symbolic in so many ways. I think they really reflect a lot of us as human beings, and also in a cultural context, in that we're always changing ourselves. And so it was just really wonderful to be here and be part of that process.
I think through the process, people start to understand the message. Just to look at the materials, for example, they understand, this about balance of life, and since all the materials are organic, and so they start to understand, the message about this project.
Bring it in the east, bring it in the west, bring it in the north, and bring it in the south, making it 12 gates into the city. Hallelujah.
It's interesting watching how we even are struggling with how to define it to people walking by. It's in some ways very undefinable, and that's reflective of the whole process that's going on. It's an undefinable process. We can't even say what it is. And I find that process interesting, how to be relating to the public with them, what they're wanting and how people want to react to it and respond to it, right? And if it's not labeled somehow, they don't know what to do.
And then I saw the lunar relationship there. So I was just enjoying the texture and the shape and not trying to make any association about what it was about, but I'd already done that, and then I just started enjoying it,
I wanted sometimes to work with y'all, but mud and things, it's not my thing. But I like what y'all doing, and I appreciate it too. It's great, really great. Yeah. I watch some TV sometimes, and I'd be surprised. I'm starting to learn more about Indian culture besides my own culture. So that helps a lot too.
My name is Mary Gorham, and since Nora and her crew been here, I've been out here every day trying to see what are they building. And everybody been trying to get me out there in the mud and everything, but I never got out there. But they have really taught me a lot since I've been out here. And I brought my rock, and my rock is in there.
Your rock is part of it now.
And my rock is part of the museum now.
Micaceous clay has been mined in northern New Mexico for hundreds of years by primarily the Picaris and Taos Pueblo native people. It was so important for me to be able to gather that slip with somebody from my family who actually showed me where this spot was.
There, but I guess if you're going to mix it with something else.
Yeah, that's okay.
See
as
how
long
it
as
is?
there's a lot of flex.
See, there's a
Oh,
lot.
look at that.
That's just in layers right in there.
Yes.
So that's all right too. I like to pick it with my hand because it feels, you know, then that you're getting the. You know what you're getting.
Because you feel it, no?
How you feel it then. Oh, look at that. As you say, you almost hate to leave it because it's so beautiful.
The micaceous clay is perfect for utilitarian purposes. People have used it for cooking, storage, large vessels, and more recently, people like me who built their own homes have used it in decorative manner in terms of plastering their house, so that at certain times of the day when the sun hits the wall in my living room, you can see the glitter of mica. When I go and gather this micaceous clay to use in my own clay work, sculptural clay work, I see and remember what the people who came before me, they looked at this clay in a real aesthetic manner, and how they combine this aesthetics with the pragmatic, because it's a very strong clay. And in fact, I combine the micaceous clay and the Santa Clara clay, which is much more oily and delicate clay, together so that I can build larger sculptures. Some of my sculptures are between 6, 7, 8, 9 feet high. And in order to get that height, there has to be a real strong clay, and that's micaceous clay. I love the fact that we're using it on one of the pieces to finish Always Becoming. That makes a lot of sense to me. Traditionally, plastering, finished plastering, any kind of plastering, was Pueblo woman's job, among other things. And you would see women always plastering, the pictures of women from Acoma to Taos Pueblo, plastering with their hands, moving across the wall just in perfect motion. And I've always thought that was a pretty important thing for me to appreciate. I remember the first time I ever plastered, we were plastering my studio, and it's very hard work. It's time consuming. It's laborious. It's all of those things, but what a wonderful thing to step back and see that you've plastered, that you've run your hand against this rough wall and all of a sudden you're coating it with a different color, or you're making it smooth, or it's starting to glitter. And that, to me, is one of the most beautiful things I think a woman can do, because basically most of these women were doing it for their homes. They were basically plastering a vessel that their family would live in, that their children would cry in, that their home would be. So it was all just so meaningful to me when I started thinking about those connections and how I wanted to make them in this art piece. I'm hoping the Native community sees themselves in this organic material that's always changing, that's always relating to the environment and adapting and transforming, and in that process being empowered. They shine at this point. And in about a year, they probably will look very different, but it doesn't mean that they're any less. They will just be different. Well, that kind of thinking can be scary because it doesn't fit into the norm, where, for the most part in this society, we're told how to think and how to react and how to adapt. What we experienced on those two little islands was this process of creating in a community where everybody understood that there was this thing that we were supposed to do. Maybe no one, including me, really understood how this was going to work, but everybody trusted this process that every day we'd meet. Somebody would drift in and out, somebody would mix mud, somebody would plaster, somebody would go get water, somebody would always come by to visit and tell a few jokes. I mean, it was like this idea of gathering. And at the end, I would look around in the final days and almost feel sad because I knew that it was coming to an end. And I didn't want it to, because I didn't want the jokes to end. I didn't want the song to end. I didn't want the plastering to end. I wanted it just to be like this always. And I knew that wasn't possible. But what maybe we instilled in people was this inspiration to make their own, to find that process themselves, so that they would have that same feeling of just, I cannot believe. How can I be so lucky for this to be happening and for me to be experiencing it? And so whatever happens to the pieces now, of course, there's my stewardship, and I'll always look after them. But it's like they're telling us, okay, you built us. Now we're on our own life, and so are you. And so now we're going to be transformed because of the environment. And however that works out, we're going to need your help to keep us alive on some level until we actually get to that place where we just disappear. And we'll be with you until that point, reminding you that you can do this. Where I come from, there is a thought that every day you wake up and you face the east when the sun is coming over the adobe wall, and you're celebrating by a prayer. That was one of the things that I wanted to happen, is that this idea of just everybody getting together, that idea of community, creating in this place, to me is pretty celebratory. I'm very anxious to see how the pieces are going to respond to snow and rain and the harshness of winter. Now we start to see how they are becoming. And in a way, I sort of relate that to myself because I'm, from the experience of always becoming and working in DC, I've become a different person. I've started to relate to things differently. And so I have more of an affinity to the pieces. I wake up sometimes during the night and I think about the pieces. I actually wonder how they are doing. And so this affinity to them goes beyond geography or air and space. It's a feeling that I have for them that will always be there. And so that idea of always transforming and evolving and hopefully growing into something is very much a part of myself, as it is with the sculptures of always becoming. Jose Montaño volunteered his prayers and his dance and his flute music for that final day during the celebration. And what he really brought was a sense of closure and prayer and song. It was really important for all of us because, again, it reminded us of that whole summer and the year before when we were in the planning stages and how all of that culminated in these pieces. And as he danced around and blessed these pieces, it was really a moment for me because indigenous people believe that places, physical places, can be sacred. And when someone comes in and blesses a place, then it has that sacredness. And I think all summer long, people were coming in and out and working and blessing it in their own way. But what he did was he made it into a ceremony through his prayer and his song and his flute music, blessed this place